Welcome to the Cheating Secrets channel. We hope you enjoy today's story.
You had to hear this story to believe that a woman can really be that stupid. I have the voicemail that ended our marriage and everything sacred between us. I wasn't going to stay her lover and live with her betrayal. Her delusion had cost her everything. Allow me to tell you a bit about myself before I allow you to read the transcription of this voice message. Maggie and I got married right after high school. We were inseparable, and we both knew we would always be together. Our families were close, and we never dated anyone else throughout high school. We both attended a private religious school and came from Midwest families with strong values. Maggie and I even took a vow of chastity just to give ourselves to each other on our wedding night. Please try not to judge. I know it's not a common practice, but it was part of our upbringing. At the tender age of 19, our wedding was organized by our two families. All our friends and relatives gathered to celebrate our love and our special day. The wedding was supposed to take place in the same church we had been attending throughout our childhood, and the reception was arranged at the Veterans Hall. It was a typical Midwest-style reception. Neither of our families had much money, and at that time, we enjoyed simple things. The best weddings are simple, without pretense, with plenty of beer and dancing. So, a week before my wedding, my friends threw a bachelor party that became a turning point in my marriage. It was a great evening at one of our favorite pubs, and then we went back to Kevin's place to have some more fun after closing time. The guys chipped in and hired a few strippers to spice things up at Kevin's house. By that point, I was already at my limit and barely remember what happened until the end of that night. The next day, I woke up in some bed, naked and unsure of what had happened. Apparently, one of the girls was giving me intimate caresses while the guys were encouraging her. I didn't remember any of this the next morning when I woke up with a piercing headache. But, to my horror, one of the guys who was jealous of our relationship eventually sent Maggie a text message with a photo of the act. A clear image of me smiling while a busty blonde was kneeling in front of me. I didn't know anything about this photo until I saw Maggie later that same day. She greeted me with a strong slap and cursed at me on the porch of her parents' house. She announced that the wedding was off and that she wanted me to leave and never talk to her again. It took everything I had to get her to talk to me the next day, and after several hours of apologies and assurances that I had no idea what happened, she finally stopped yelling at me and just looked at me with pure hatred. It seemed like the wedding was off unless I could come up with some kind of miracle. Our last conversation went something like this. Billy, the only thing we had was that neither of us had ever been with anyone else, and now I'm the only one who can say that. You broke our promise to save ourselves for each other, like I did for you. This fact will stay with me forever, don't you understand? I would never have done that, Maggie. I swear, my idiot friend set that up, and now I'm being punished for something I never wanted to happen. Well, that's how it was. What do we do now? I don't know. Do you want to settle the score and be with someone else before the wedding? She slapped me hard again. It was starting to irritate and hurt. How dare you talk to me like that? I'm not some crap who will just sleep with anyone like you do. Damn it, Maggie, I didn't sleep with her and it wasn't my fault. This went on for several hours and finally, at midnight, we hugged and kissed for the first time in 2 days. We cried in each other's arms and finally ended this event, with one exception. Billy, I'll tell everyone that the wedding is on, but only if you agree to let me settle the score. What do you mean, settle the score? Not today and not anytime soon, but someday I might want to have a bachelorette party or maybe dance with some other guy. One pass for infidelity if it ever happens. I don't want it to happen, but I feel like I need the choice to be on equal terms in this situation. So, anytime in the future, if you want another guy, I'll have to allow it, yes, just once, just like you. As I've already mentioned, I don't need anyone else, and I know that nothing like this will happen. But it's important for me to experience this to feel just retribution after you let that girl freely have her way with you and provide you with intimate services before I did. As I've already mentioned, I don't need anyone else, and I know that nothing like that will happen. But it's important for me to experience this to feel a sense of fair retribution after you let that girl freely do as she pleased with you and provide you with intimate services before I did. After several hours of pleading, sleeplessness, and a headache, I gave in. I believed she asked for this to teach me a lesson and to feel like we were now even. I knew I had nothing to worry about. We never spoke of it again after that night, and everything returned to normal. The wedding went off without a hitch. The guy who sent that photo to Maggie, for some reason, didn't come to the wedding as he was in the hospital with 2 broken legs and a concussion. Apparently, my best man Harley was unhappy with his decision to try to disrupt my wedding. You don't disrespect the guys in our group without knowing the consequences. The next 7 years were magical. Our love grew stronger, and we remained inseparable. I completed courses at the local university and earned a degree in computer engineering, where I learned a lot about blockchain technology and cryptography. During this time, Bitcoin was a novelty, and as an early adopter, I acquired over 95 Bitcoins practically for free, which I kept in a paper wallet for over 6 years. No one knew I had them, and when Bitcoin was worth just over $60,000 per coin, I realized our lives would change forever. I began making plans for our future but kept quiet about my wealth until the right time. Money and wealth were never the deciding factors in our lives, and I was determined not to let them change us or turn us into some of those people you see on Jerry Springer, going from poverty to riches, then to bankruptcy. I was cautious with unexpected income and made sure to maintain and grow the large portfolio I now owned. Working with several accountants and consultants, we were preparing for a life of affluence. While all this was happening, I worked at a large engineering firm, doing what I loved. Maggie worked at the local library, where the pay was modest, but she enjoyed it. I managed the family budget, and to Maggie's delight, we lived comfortably. We were both just in our 20s and were planning to start planning our family. Now was the time to enjoy life and give Maggie things that our parents and the whole family could never afford. After a late dinner and some dancing, I told her it was time to start a family. She agreed and was planning to stop taking birth control and visit her doctor the following week. We wanted to make sure everything was perfect. I planned to surprise Maggie with a new home and her favorite luxury car, a Mercedes GLC AMG 43. With my investments growing and some advice, I was planning to transfer enough funds to buy our dream home and her new car. It felt like we were living in a fairy tale again, and our love had never been stronger. Every morning, I thanked the universe and my God, almost pinching myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. The next day, I took Maggie to the local Mercedes dealer and told the saleswoman that we were starting a family and wanted Maggie to drive a safe SUV. Maggie thought it was a bad joke and ordered me to stop clowning around. She hit my hand hard and said, "Billy, stop being silly. Why are you teasing me with my dream car? We could never afford something like this. Maggie, I've loved you my whole life, and I want to make you the happiest wife in the world. We're starting a family, and I want to make sure you're driving a safe car. I've saved up, and we can afford it, and I want you to have it, babe." Tears welled up in the saleswoman's eyes as she heard me speak to Maggie, how much I loved her. The sales manager drew up the contract, and we traded in her old car for a new one, which was supposed to be ready by the following Saturday. We added some customizations and features that would take a few days to complete. The financial manager at the dealership asked me if I wanted to lease the car or take out an auto loan. My wife and the saleswoman were shocked when I told her I would pay for the car in full. All $97,789 with a certified check when I picked up the car the following week. Since we had already traded in her old car, they provided us with a rental car for a week, which they did for their top customers. I guess now I was a top customer, I smiled. That night, Maggie gave me the best sex of my life. She turned my world upside down and made me understand how grateful she was for the car and my love. After a passionate night of sex, she told me how much she loves me and how happy she is to be my wife. I thought to myself, just wait until you find out about the house I'm going to buy. I can't wait to see how our sex can get even hotter. The next morning over breakfast, we talked about children and starting a family. It was now our main topic, and we constantly discussed it over the next few days. I noticed that Maggie was acting differently, a bit withdrawn and quiet. I asked her about her mood several times every evening, but she said nothing was wrong, until Thursday evening. That's when I realized I was in trouble. Maggie looked sad and worried when I came home from work. From her facial expression, I could tell something bad was happening. I thought someone was really sick or someone from our parents had passed away. Both of our parents were getting older and had moved to Florida and Arizona to retire, which is why I was nervous that something had happened. "Is everything okay? Did something happen, Maggie?" "No, everything's okay, but I had to do something that you may not like." "What's going on?" I asked. "Sweetheart, sit down. We need to talk." When I heard that, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh no," as I sat across from her at the kitchen table. "Billy, I love you so much, and I can't wait to start our family and have children with you. You're the best husband and the only man I've ever loved and the only man I've ever been with. That's great, Maggie. You know how much I love you. The problem isn't with our love, baby. As I said before, you're the only man I've ever loved or been with. You were with another woman, but I've never been with another man. All this talk about starting a family is what caused the issue. I see it as once I get pregnant and we have children, I would never want to be with another man under any circumstances. Don't get me wrong, I don't desire other men, but I need to be with someone else one more time before we start having children. What do you mean by, be with someone else? It might be hard for you to hear this, but I want to use my one-time cheat pass, just once, before we start having children. Just once, to experience being with someone else. You remember the cheat pass, right? Of course, I remember, but I thought after 7 happy years you would forget about it and forgive that unfortunate incident. I did that until we started talking about children. Baby, I love you, and this has nothing to do with you. As a woman, I just need to be with someone else one time before I spend the rest of my life with you as your wife and the mother of your children. No way, Maggie. I can't allow you to do that. I won't let you, and that's final. I know, it's hard, but I've arranged to meet someone tomorrow evening. Just a couple of hours and I'll come back to you forever. I have no feelings for him, but I feel like he's the best candidate to help me with this. Maggie, is this a joke? Are you trying to kill me? No, it's not a joke, and I swear I love you and don't want to hurt you, which is why I'm using the cheat pass you gave me. Tomorrow evening, I'll go see him at 8 p.m. and be back by 10 p.m. I'll return before your hockey game ends. I've already checked and know they have a playoff game starting at 8 p.m., and I'll be back to you before it ends. Maggie, I know I gave you that pass, but I never thought you would use it. I don't want you to do this. And I didn't want you to be with her either, but it's too late now. You owe me. Just 2 hours and I'll be back, only yours forever. Listen, you started this with that mess, and you promised me a one-time pass if I married you. As you probably remember, I did marry you and gave you 7 wonderful years. I'm sorry, but as I've said, you owe me, Billy. Up until this moment, I believed our life was perfect and that she was satisfied with our sex life. Now, in less than 5 minutes, my world has been turned upside down, and I had no idea how to react. After a 2-hour argument, I realized I couldn't win, and she was determined to use her pass. So, I have no choice, and everything is already arranged. What if I say, no? Well, I guess you could, but it won't happen tomorrow. But think about it for a moment. It will upset me, and I won't feel like we're even anymore. Maybe I'll do it without telling you, and that's something you'll have to think about for the rest of our marriage. If we do it this way, everything will be under control. It will only be once for 2 hours and never again. I've never lied to you or given you a reason not to trust me, but if you deny me what was promised, I can't guarantee it won't happen sometime in the future. So, there's no threat, and we can move forward and start our family. Maggie, I love you too, but this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Allowing my wife, the woman I love, to be with another man causes me so much pain that I can't even explain what it's like. Darling, when I saw that photo of you with that woman, I felt the same. I remember it like it was yesterday. So, I understand, but I'll tell you that everything is getting better, and when I come back tomorrow evening, I'll be the best wife in the world, I promise. Who's this guy? His name is Derek, but believe it or not, he's a lawyer at Starbucks, in my building. I see him every day, and we've become friends. I told him all about my past, and he agreed to help me. He's not a threat to you, and I have no feelings for him. That's why I chose him. He doesn't have a good job. He's around 19 years old, and he probably doesn't even have a girlfriend. He knows it's a one-time thing, and I know he's the perfect candidate for it. I can't believe this, but I understand your logic. I hate this, and just the fact that you want to do this kills me. I appreciate your honesty, but this surpasses anything I could ever imagine. Okay, if we go through with this, and I don't want you to do it, you'll have to agree to my rules, otherwise we can just end this right now. I don't want to lose you, but if you don't agree to these things, I'm ready to leave you and start divorce proceedings. Don't even say that word. This is a crazy conversation, and of course, I want you to approach this normally. What rules are you talking about? I can't believe I'm even considering this, but here's what I might be able to live with. 1. No one, and I mean no one, will ever find out about this, except you, me, and your lover. 2. This is a one-time pass that will never be used again. If you ask about it or it ever comes up again, I'll divorce you in New York in a minute. 3. After this, you won't be friends, chat, text, or talk with this guy. Ever. 4. You will tell me everything you did in full detail without me asking. I expect complete honesty. Nothing is hidden or concealed from me. 5. If you let him fuck you, and I'm afraid it will change our relationship, he will wear a condom. 6. You won't let him come up behind you. You promised that privilege was only for me. 7. You will come home immediately after this. You will arrive no later than 10 p.m. 8. You will always keep your phone on in case I need to contact you. 9. We will never speak of this again once it's over. 10. You will sleep in the guest room for a week until I can come to terms with this. She jumped onto my lap and hugged me. Thank you, baby. I love you, and I agree with all your rules. Thank you so much, and now come with me and let me show you how much I love you. I carried her to bed and tried to reach the limit of passion, intending to make her give up this crazy scheme. I wanted to be the only thing she would desire, and that night it wasn't love but rough, hard sex to make sure she knew she belonged only to me. The next morning, before we left for the whole day, I begged her to reconsider and not go through with her plans. It seemed like she was contemplating it and said she would call me after lunch and let me know. At 3 p.m. on that fateful day, she called me and said she loved me. Billy, I want you to know that I love you so much, and I know it will be painful, but I'm going to meet Derek and will be home before you know it. Baby, I beg you, don't do this. I'm not sure I can handle this and how it will affect our marriage. Just come back home to me, and I'll do anything you want to fix everything. I hate begging and acting like a weak-minded husband, but I don't know what else to do. Please, Maggie, don't go to him tonight. Billy, we discussed this, and I'll see you tonight. Just remember how much I love you. Yes, I hear Maggie's words, but being with another man, I don't feel very loved. I love you, Billy. And for now, goodbye, darling. See you tonight, and she hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone, and realized I was crying again. Had I turned into a complete wreck? My stomach twisted, and my heart truly ached. I felt my heart breaking for the first time in my life. My heart had never hurt before, and I promised myself I would never feel anything like this again. The only woman I ever loved was going to be with another man because of some fucking baby and a moment I don't even remember. It was bullshit, but as she pointed out, I agreed to it before we even got married. I was shattered, and I had no intention of having a good night. I also had no idea how I would deal with this when she returned. But soon enough, I learned that I wouldn't have to worry about it. I couldn't go home alone, knowing what she was doing, so I went to the local sports bar to watch the hockey game and drown my sorrows. I made sure to be back home by 10 p.m. I wanted to be there when she returned home. I wasn't sure what I was going to do or how I would behave, but I wanted her to feel my pain and some guilt for getting myself into this mess. Sitting in the bar and finishing my second glass of whiskey, I took out my phone and tried one last attempt to put an end to this. It was almost 8 p.m. when I called to plead with her to change her mind, but the call went straight to voicemail. That angered me because she was supposed to keep her phone on. She had already broken one of my rules. That was it. It was meant to happen, and I couldn't do anything about it. A sense of complete helplessness washed over me, and anger surged within me. I got back home around 10 p.m. and started watching the final period of the playoff game. Between the drinks and humiliation, my head was a mess, and I couldn't focus on anything. I drank more as the hours ticked by, and my anger grew. I dozed off during overtime, waiting for Maggie to return. It seems like Derek's lawyer had a magical tool because everything we discussed went down the drain. It was already late, and Maggie still hadn't come home. I drank heavily all night and passed out on the couch, waiting for her to walk through the door. I woke up at midnight, feeling a bit drunk and out of sorts. As my senses returned, I rubbed my eyes, looked at the clock, and then at my phone. Of course, I missed her call and noticed that I had a voicemail. I listened to the message. Her words were hesitant, with long pauses between sentences. She knew her words would be painful and tried to be as kind as possible. It didn't help. Here's the voicemail, word for word. Hi, honey, it's me. I saw that you called. Sorry for missing your previous call. I'm having a great time, though. I'm fine, everything's fine. Actually, things are going very well for me. I'm still with Derek. He lives near the shopping center. And, long pause, yes, we had a great time. Long pause, so, I know you probably have a million questions, so I'll try to answer them very quickly. Right now, he's in the shower, but when he comes out, I'll probably be busy again, so I most likely won't answer phone calls. Alright, first off, yes, he's much bigger than you. I would say probably almost twice your size, and he really knows how to use it. Second, indeed, I often reached orgasm. The number of times is so great that I have lost count, and each time it was an extraordinarily powerful experience. Thirdly, yes, my experience shows that black men possess a more pronounced mastery in the arts of love than white men. It's hard to even describe how great this difference is, which, perhaps, also answers your fourth question. Pause. Yes, he's much better than you. Pause. Much better. If I were to combine all the orgasms I've ever had with you, they wouldn't compare to the moment when he brought me to the climax. Very long pause. And now, I think I'll tell you something you probably don't want to hear, but I promised I'd be honest with you. I really hope you're not mad at me, but we don't use condoms. Pause. And I let him do whatever he wants to me. I know that was the rule, but I can't even explain how amazing it is without a condom and how much I just need it. I mean, you're great, but this is just mind-blowing. So, we've had sex, I think, about 9 times or so, something like that. And it was really amazing. One more note. I let him, long pause, come up behind me. And I know, I told you I wouldn't do that, and I don't let you do that, but he's just so amazing that I just wanted to try. I'm sorry, but I'm going to stay here for the night. He'll take me to the library in the morning, so you don't need to worry about picking me up. But I know we've been having sex for about 4 hours now, but I just need this so much. It's just so incredible. Please don't be mad and try to understand. I promise I'll make it up to you. Long pause, and then finally, I'll tell you that I want to make this a regular thing. I know I promised it would only be once, but I want to keep seeing him and we'll still be around each other and nothing will change here. But I want to do it with him more often. I've never had sex like this before. And it's just mind-blowing. We can start our family soon, I promise. Long pause. So, I am resuming my sexual adventures, and here's some good news. He also has a passion for nylon stockings and heels, just like you. Therefore, when I return home tomorrow, I will have for you some elegant, slightly indecent stockings, and you can enjoy them if you wish. I will most likely call you tomorrow morning. Today, I will probably turn off my phone since we plan to completely disconnect from everything. So, thank you once again. I greatly appreciate that you allow me to do this. And we will talk later. I love you so much, darling. And now goodbye. Not a fairy tale ending. It was the moment when our fairy tale ended and turned into my nightmare. Our marriage came to an end, and I knew my life was about to change. I sent an email to my boss, informing him that I wouldn't be in for a few days due to urgent family matters. To hell with it. If he didn't like it, then they can all go to hell. Suddenly, I sobered up and became angry. I felt the blood flowing through my veins, and my heart was pounding furiously in my chest. It was another feeling that was new to me, but I used anger and rage to empower my actions. That night, I didn't sleep, and by 7 a.m., my F-150 was loaded with 3 suitcases full of clothes and 5 boxes containing my files, computers, and all my personal belongings. Soon she would learn the consequences of her actions. She gave up everything, our future family, our luxurious life, and all the years of love I'd showered on her, all for what? For some strange guy? Damn it, I hated myself for letting it happen. Early the next morning, I saw several missed calls from her and immediately blocked her number. I didn't need to say anything to her, and talking to her would only anger me again. Besides, I was too busy packing my things, and I didn't have time to waste. I wanted to leave as far away as possible and disappear from her life before she returned home. I drove north for 6 hours to Lake Ozarks, and during the trip, I managed to rent a cabin by the lake. A week at the lake in this quiet place was just what I needed. It was 3 p.m. when I checked in, and suddenly I felt desperately tired. Settling into the room, I planned to take a nap for a few hours, then have a good meal. After that, I would try to get back into the game. Later that same evening, I turned on my phone again. I had dozens of text messages and missed calls. Obviously, Maggie had no idea about my anger or how I would react. Later, I learned that an hour after I left, she returned home and went into the kitchen. That's when she saw the note, my phone, and my wedding ring on the table when she finally returned home from her fest. She had no idea I would leave her like this, and she really believed I would understand her desires. Panicking, she took my note and started reading it. Maggie, we're done, and here's why. 1. Without condoms, as you explained in your voicemail message. 2. You turned off your phone, and I couldn't reach you. 3. You were supposed to leave at 10 p.m., but you spent the night with him. 4. You gave him your ass, which you promised to me. 5. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, and now you want to continue. Don't be shy now. He's all yours. 6. I really didn't need to hear that he's much better than me. Thank you for letting me know how terrible a lover I was. Well, now he's all yours. Enjoy. Because of this, we're done. You can keep my wedding ring as a memento. Don't bother looking for me, because I'm gone and no one will find me. Since you feel so wonderful with Derek, feel free to move in with him. The apartment is paid for until the end of the month, which is when the lease expires. I'm glad I waited to renew it for another year. You'll have to either sign a new lease agreement or move in with your new fucktoy. You can forget about the new car. I'm not paying for it under any circumstances right now. You'll need to return the rental car to the dealership and get back your old car, if they haven't sold it yet. I haven't withdrawn any money from the current or savings account. You can keep it. This should last you about a month if you're really frugal. Remember, now that I'm gone, you'll have to cover all utility bills, food, and other expenses. All our joint credit cards have been canceled. It's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet and grow up. On Monday, I'll resign from my job over the phone, wherever I am, and you'll need to arrange your own health insurance. Children? Not with me. That will never happen. Maybe your big lover can fill that part of your life. Whether you file for divorce or not, I don't care. In my view, we are no longer married. Just as well, you can file for separation, and in a year, it will be official. I've always loved you and will miss you, but I can't live with a woman who left me that message last night. I don't know who she is, but she won't be part of my life. I'll never be a cuckold. You took advantage of me and what happened over 7 years ago without my knowledge. I hope you're happy with your decision to destroy everything we had together. In case you don't remember what you said in the voicemail, I posted a link to the recording on my social media. Once our friends and family hear it, I'm sure they'll understand why I left you. I hope you enjoy hearing about your betrayal and the demise of our marriage. I hate what you've done, and I wish you a life full of regrets and suffering. Billy. Maggie's thoughts. She took out her phone and pressed the voicemail link. Hearing her own words, she couldn't bear it and fell to her knees. She was devastated and deeply regretted what she had done. Due to drugs and alcohol, she lost control of the situation. The feelings she expressed were genuine, but she regretted how she explained it in the voicemail. She would never have gone through with it if she thought Billy would leave her. She cried and lamented for a whole hour. Finally, after an hour of tears and pain, she posted lengthy apologies in response to his post. She wanted Billy and everyone else to see that she regretted it and wanted him back. Billy didn't return to social media after posting his last note. She thought to herself that if he had read her words, maybe he would have reconsidered and given her another chance. This should not have happened. Sometime later, during that week, Billy decided he needed to get away as far as possible. After quitting his job and consulting with his financial advisors, he arranged a trip to spend the next 2 months in Hawaii, the very place where he had planned to take Maggie for a surprise vacation. Billy sent Harley, his chauffeur, the name of his truck and where it could be picked up, as a token of gratitude for his friendship. He explained that he was going away for a long time. He also sent his new email address to stay in touch. Harley did keep in touch with Billy and told him what happened after he left town. Maggie begged him to tell her where Billy was, but to no avail. When Maggie returned the rented car, she found out that her old car was already up for auction. The dealership was angry that there would be no sale and refused to give her any money for the trade-in, explaining that the money would go towards renting the car they provided. She'll need to hire a lawyer to try to get it back, but without any funds, it will be difficult. She desperately tried to reach Billy, but no one knew where he was. Her mom and dad were angry with her actions but offered her to move in with them if she wanted to come to Arizona. She tried to keep the apartment hoping that Billy would change his mind and come back. Now Maggie was working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She never realized how expensive everything was because Billy always took care of all the expenses. She finally understood that her childish need for revenge was a big mistake. After a year of no news from Billy, she realized he wouldn't come back. She dated a few guys, but she never experienced the kind of love she had with Billy. She missed him terribly and cursed herself for taking advantage of that silly infidelity pass. 2 years later, the marriage fell apart, and they were both single again. Thanks to his knowledge of cryptocurrencies, as well as financial investments, Billy's account grew to a solid $28 million over the next few years. Currently, he lived in his new Hawaiian beach house on the island of Kauai with his 21-year-old wife. It was the house he wanted to buy for Maggie until she went crazy. Kelly, his new love, was over the moon with happiness and would never want to get a pass for infidelity. Just to make sure, he made her sign a prenuptial agreement to protect himself from any unexpected infidelity that might occur in the future. While Maggie struggled to make ends meet and find a good man who would love her again, Billy started a new chapter in life, filled with love and happiness. Some of you might say that Billy should have shared his hidden wealth with Maggie or at least supported her. Remember, before this happened, Billy intended to give everything to Maggie and not hide his blessings, but everything changed. Being generous after the night she slept with another guy would have been a kind gesture. However, in Billy's opinion, her betrayal destroyed every ounce of love he had for her. No, in his opinion, she got what she deserved. A life without his love and plenty of regrets, just as Billy wished for her. One day, still living a sad, lonely life and stuck in her small town, Maggie saw an interview on TV with a man she recognized as Billy. Yes, Billy, her ex-husband. She jumped to her feet and stood right in front of the TV screen. CNN interviewed Billy about his Save the Children foundation in his large beach house on Kauai together with his wife Kelly and their daughter Abigail. It was then that she realized how much she had messed up. After many years of not seeing Billy and hearing nothing about him, the image of his new family struck her deeply. When she learned about his success and how he became a philanthropist thanks to all his wealth, she couldn't hold back and cried uncontrollably. Yes, she was a broken woman, all because she wanted revenge. Then she remembered a quote from one of her favorite authors, John Soutard, "The only people you should get even with are the people who helped you." She will try her best to remember this if such an opportunity ever presents itself again.
Thank you for being with us and listening until the end. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, give us a like, and leave your comments. And we'll see you on the Cheating Secrets channel.